¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday. Welcome, everybody. Cosmic Seeking, A-Bond, Alio, Heat, how's it going? Trump, I'm told that Trump is going to get indicted again today around now. We're going to find out. I mean, it's quite possible that we might actually find out live. We might actually find out live. But we'll see. 500 indictments for Trump? No, I don't think 500 is going to happen, but I believe that we might find news very soon. The grand jury has handed an indictment, but we don't know. Howdy. Welcome. When you indict presidents, choose Republicans, always a safe bet. Well, I mean, if they did the crime, they should be prosecuted regardless, right? Doesn't matter. Michael Hassler, how's it going? Yes, follow the YouTubes. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm trying to see if there is any where can I get like live updates on this? YouTube? No, I'm not gonna be on I'm not gonna be on YouTube. CNN, maybe. I'll keep an eye out on this and see if we get any updates. Oh shoot, I didn't bring up some of the stuff here. All right. So I think we got everything ready. That's not bother. 99% sure Trump is indicted. It is just for what and who is included. I mean, maybe. Maybe. The news is taking their sweet time to update all this stuff, but that's okay. We'll keep an eye out on it. In the meantime, we'll start getting some videos done and some headlines. All right. Yeah, still no. It's being broadcast here in the UK already. Yeah, the only thing I see is that they've handed an indictment. That's it. That's all we know. Well, no worries. I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. Alright, folks, we got a few things to go through. Some disturbing clips. And like ABC reports, Trump is charged with felonies involving voting machines in Michigan, and 2 people were charged. Both pleaded not guilty. Oh, but this has nothing to do with the Trump indictment, right? The judge will deal which parts can be unsealed tomorrow. Oh, so we're not even gonna know today. We're not even gonna know today. Okay. And GA is coming for Trump August 7th? Maybe. Are they gonna do another jury? Is the jury gonna reconvene to vote whether or not they're gonna indict? Either way, I suspect that we'll find more information tomorrow then if that's the case. Alright, so we've got a couple of clips to go through and videos and headlines. Alright. The judge did not receive the indictment until 30 minutes ago. Okay, yeah, so we're not going to know anything till tomorrow, probably. We're not going to know anything tomorrow.
When I speak about the environment to a group of Republicans, I almost always get standing ovations, because I'm so aligned with, I think mainstream classic historical American thinking about how markets work. I think I would, I think Milton Friedman would be very happy with the way that I talk about those things. When I speak about the environment to a group of Republicans, I almost always get standing ovations, because I'm so aligned with, I think mainstream classic historical American thinking about how market.
Yeah, like explain to me how like you're trying to market. Like there are a lot of people who are trying to market this dude as some kind of like out of the box candidate. A lot of people are trying to market this guy as some out of the box candidate to challenge the status quo or whatever. But like here he is boasting that he literally just aligns with the status quo. He literally aligns with the status quo and is proud of the fact that Republicans would give him a standing or do give him a standing ovation. And if I'm correct, this is from the PVD podcast, so yeah. This is not exactly the kind of bragging, I should say, that I would be doing. And if I'm currently being given standard ovations by the Republican Party, I'm pretty much, I would need to question what I'm doing. I would need to question what I'm doing and why that's happening. Deeply unserious candidate. This man is a huge liar and white supremacist. I mean, he's definitely done some. Oh, guys. Speaking of which, okay, momentarily. Did I even retweet this? Oh yeah, I did. This is still this tweet is still up. This tweet is still up, by the way. Here's a question. Why specifically in that order? Did this person, this deeply unserious person, decide that he was going to post he was going to do like 1488 posting, okay? Because there's literally no reason. Those numbers don't make sense. It is a lie. That the typical turnaround is he literally chose those numbers specifically, 14 days. You couldn't say a couple of weeks, which isn't true, by the way. And even if you do not get Secret Service protection, you do not get Secret Service protection that quickly. Okay? So I'm sorry, but it is incredibly difficult to try to like rationalize, no matter how much you try to like maybe find out, like, unless it could very well be that it is just some wild coincidence. But man, is it a coincidence that you purposely chose, like, because this isn't an accident. This is not an accident. Okay? Making specific numbers like that, it's just hard to believe that he did not know what he was doing. Or whoever's running the account did not know what he was doing. Essentially like 1488 posting. Seriously living off the Kennedy. That's literally all he has. 1488 is not. It's a Nazi dog whistle. Yes, it's the 14 words. 88 is Heil Hitler. H and H, the 8th letter of the alphabet. I mean, like, this is just wild, and like this is coming off the same this is coming off the rant about how COVID was engineered to specifically spare Ashkenazi Jews and the Chinese. And now this dude's out like 1488 posting. And also to kind of like add more context, the dude is like has been hanging out with Steve Bannon, or is being propped up by Steve Bannon and Roger Stone. To add more context to that, he's also been involved with some dude, I forget his name. We went over this story like a couple of weeks ago. With this dude who was essentially spreading the Jewish question. Like straight up Nazi posting. I mean, it's getting real hard to think that this was a coincidence or just like a wild, just like the most biggest like random choice of numbers right after each other. Nah, it's hard to believe. Like if it wasn't him outright typing this out, whoever is running this account knew exactly what they were doing. And it's still up. The tweet is still up. And now he's talking about how he would get standing ovations from Republicans. Nah, dude. No thanks. No thanks. Michael Tracy posting the most weird, um, bizarre alternate history of things that never happened. Um, saying that the Nazi concentration camps never stopped operating. Um, the Allies continued to do so. No evidence of that. Alio with the 10 biddies, thank you so much. Speaking of Nazi posting, the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire continues to post things like this. This is the 14 words basically, and you could tell that like even like the other libertarian accounts were like, okay, dude, this is a step too far, because this is not a meme. There's no joke here. There's no punchline. There's no response to anything. There's no like, oh, we're just doing this to mock Nazis. It's literally not a joke. It's just Nazi posting. You could tell because even here, the Libertarian Party of Georgia was like, we want to secure an existence of all people. What are you talking about? Okay. Oh, this is not the GOP. This is the Libertarian Party. Why do they continue to always just end up being like fucking fascists? Mind you, this same account, which by the way was also backed by a bunch of other libertarian accounts, official accounts, was telling a black woman to pick crops. Okay, that government, that insulin being free is the equivalent of and just as bad as chattel slavery. So their response to that is to tell a black person to pick crops, which we went over that whole debacle. And other libertarian accounts, official accounts, back them up on this. And now they're just like 14 word posting, just like it's all good. Yes, Senator Nina Turner is who they were talking about. And like they went on like for a long time. They went back and forth for a long time. That's right. And they continued to make the same argument. Making insulin free at the point of service is equivalent to chattel slavery is what their argument was. And now they're like 14 word posting, Nazi posting. Hey Sharpie Diesel, how's it going? Trump has confirmed on True Social that he has been indicted. CNN confirms that Trump has been notified. So did he just really just go on True Social and spill like the beans? Okay, so okay. He did everything right. This is a statement from the Trump campaign. There's nothing more than Lay's corrupt chapter that continues pathetic attempt. Blah, 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 blah. The Biden crime family and their weaponized. Boom, 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 boom. But why did they wait 2.5 years to bring fake charges right in the middle of the campaign? Because it was under investigation. Question mark? Oh, they have unsealed the indictment. 4 charges. Wait, for real? Like him? He's done? He's donezo? Is that it? Did we get the confirmation? Oh, shit. All right, folks. This one is serious. This one is serious. All right, we're gonna stop the presses here because we need to talk about this. This is actually very serious. Because this is one of the cases that I was really interested in seeing, because it is inconceivable to me that that in this country a party got together and conspired to overturn the election, and that there would have been no consequences. It would be inconceivable to me. He has been indicted on 4 counts of having done everything right. Happy belated birthday. That's right. Listen, it came a day late, all right? Sorry about that, Echo Resto Dragon. Muted? No, I shouldn't be muted. I mean, I don't think I'm muted. At least I don't think so. Not muted. All right, we're good. I just checked. He has been indicted on 4 counts of having done everything right. Pretty sure that I read that as sarcasm at first, but oh, it's a joke. Okay. At first, I read it as sarcasm, so I think I did a good read. All right, call back to his unhinged speech in Florida. I did nothing wrong. Gotcha. Makes sense. I did nothing wrong. He said to a very perfect phone call. Listen, folks, nobody does phone calls like me. Okay. He'll be arraigned on August 3rd at 3 p.m. Gotcha. It is happening. So yeah, no, all memes aside, this is a serious case that I wanted to follow, because it is inconceivable that the Republican Party, along with Trump and all his lawyers and Trump campaign officials and whoever else conspired to do this. I like the I did everything right and they indicted me. Well, no, clearly you didn't. That's why you're here, bro. So many traitors. Unironically, though, you're right. Unironically. And like the fact that there are like people that will still follow this guy, and the fact that there's going to be people that will still vote for him, the fact that there's going to be people that will still vote for him despite this, like they'll simultaneously say that they're like, you know, pro-America or whatever, and then still simultaneously vote for a person who literally wanted to overturn democracy is bonkers to me. It's wild. There are 6 unidentified co-conspirators. This is about the overturning of the election, right? So this is probably maybe some of the either It could be the fake electors. It could be the fake electors. Or it could be maybe part of his like campaign team that tried to organize all of this. This is the January 6th? Oh, wait, no, I thought this was to overturn the election. Am I wrong? The fake electors is a completely other case. Oh my god. Listen, it's hard to keep track, alright? I thought this was about the, I thought this was about the election. Alright, well, instead of me just talking crap, let me just read through this. Alright. A sealed indictment has been handed down against former President Trump in the grand jury investigation of his attempts to overturn the 2020 election. Jack Smith will speak in 18 minutes. Okay, well, if that's the case, then I guess we should just listen to that. Maybe they can explain what the heck is going on. You let me know when the speech is starting, and we'll go from there. Okay, so yes, he's indicted on charges of overturning the election. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I can't read it because it's asking me to like get the app or something, but that's okay. The Trump announced on July 18th that he received a letter from the special counsel notifying him that he was a grand jury, the target of a grand jury examining the January 6th riot and the 2020 election. This is about the election. Members of the grand jury met at the courthouse earlier. New indictment was filed last week in a separate counsel investigation alleging... Okay, this is for the classified documents. Former President Trump has been indicted by a federal grand jury investigation in his efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election, according to this indictment. That's just wild that this is like a thing that we're reading. This is a thing that we're reading in the year of our Lord in 2023. And this is also the front runner of the Republican Party. Like, I need people to like get that whole entire like concept over here. Like, the same dude is currently being indicted for his efforts to overturn an election is the same front runner. Is the current Republican front runner. Hey, Lasso, how's it going? I'm doing good. Welcome. Folks, if you haven't already, please consider following Lawsu, twitch.tv/Lawsu. Right, and who has a possibility of winning as of right now. Trump has been charged with 4 counts: conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. Damn. Farron Cousins was correct. Farron Cousins was completely correct. Farron Cousins was completely correct. He said one of the most likely charges is conspiracy to defraud the United States. My new PC, mini PC died. Amazon is sending me another one. Well, that's good. Pretty much what was in the target letter. The Trump trial parties this year. I mean, like, depending on what the on what the schedule looks like. But honestly, this is some really like serious stuff, especially like the fact that, again, dude is the front runner to the Republican Party. And like the only thing that he's got is basically saying that this is akin to political election interference because he's being investigated. I mean, like, do we want to like hedge guesses as to who these six co-conspirators are? I'm pretty sure like Rudy Giuliani is in there too. A conspiracy to defraud the United States by using dishonesty, fraud, and deceit to obstruct the nation's process of collecting, counting, and certifying the results of the presidential election. I mean, like, yeah, that's exactly correct. A professional, lifelong con man made the con of his life and got caught. A conspiracy to impede the January 6th congressional proceedings at which to collect the results of the presidential election are counted and certified. This carries a maximum 20-year sentence. A 20-year maximum sentence, I should say. A conspiracy against the right to vote and have that vote counted. This carries a 10-year maximum sentence. Obstruction of or attempt to impede the certification of the electoral vote. This counts a 20-year maximum sentence. I mean, like, with the other felonies that he's like facing, plus all this, like, even if he gets convicted with like one felony or like one of these charges and one of the charges of the other, the dude's done. The dude's done. Former President Trump is scheduled to be arraigned in Florida after the Justice Department charged him with 3 additional felonies. Oh, yeah. That's from the other case. Skip the Republicans are the great grandkids of the Puritans that was both kicked in Fleet England in like the 1500s. So no, it's basically all like how they be. No surprise. Yeah, true. Definitely not going to be president. I mean, there's nothing preventing him from being president. Like, if you want to talk about like how messed up the system is, technically, as far as I know, technically he could be. Although, like, because of all this is all like kind of new. Because we've never seen this kind of scenario, so it's kind of like we're entering like a little bit of a gray area, but technically I think that he can. Technically I think that he can. It needed to be needed the insurrection charge for him not to be able to run. Okay, yeah, that would be that would have been a way from preventing him from running. Period. From running in the first place. But if he didn't have that and did run and is running and becomes the front runner, which most likely he is, and then somehow wins the election, yeah, I think he technically could be president. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of things that we're gonna figure out should that scenario arise. So yeah, I guess the best way to answer that is we'll cross that bridge. Exactly, correct? Question mark? So I guess we'll cross that bridge if we have to cross it. When we cross it. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know what would happen. Because like how would Secret Service work? Like what how would this even look like? Do they just make the White House into like a prison? I don't know. I don't know what they would do at that point. But yeah. Can you imagine the constitutional mayhem if he pardons himself? That's another gray area. I don't know if he can. I'm just actually not sure. I'm actually not sure if he can. Some people say that he can. Some lawyers say that he cannot. Law set up for and to uphold colonialism and keep safe any of them from any real charge of the crimes they commit. I mean, like, in normal circumstances, yeah, I guess we'll see if there's any accountability, to be quite frank. Trump has 78 felony charges and still be commander-in-chief. Technically, he could be. If there was a scenario where he won, yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He would be president, which is wild. Wild. I wouldn't hold my breath on that though. Yeah, I guess we'll just follow these cases as they come. And just take it one step at a time. He was for one term and that's enough. True. A spokesperson for the Trump confirmed that the former president has been notified of this indictment, which we know because he's out here retruthing. So basically what he's trying to say is that the only reason they're indicting him is because they're trying to do election interference. I mean, like, this is also, like, make no mistake, this is also a very dangerous scenario too, because like these people, these cult members that follow this guy, they're more willing to commit violence for the dear leader. They've shown that they're more than capable of engaging in insurrectionary behavior. So God only knows what they're capable of now that their dear leader has been indicted again. This time for this time for election interference, and now it's being put like in their heads. It's like, well, they stole the election, and now they're trying to punish him, and now they're going to use that to try to steal the election again. Like, do you see how like this is this is working? The 45 MAGA, the Congress is different. Why we don't see any of the past presidents ever facing any real consequences for anything that they do. I mean, it's true. It's true. No former president has even faced indictments. But yeah, I guess we'll see. But will the trials convict? No idea. There was Jimmy, got that, but that got whitewashed. Wait, Jimmy Carter? Reagan did apologize for the Iran-Contra, but North took the fall. Yeah, but apologizing for the Iran-Contra, he never got any, like, consequences, right? Like, he never suffered any indictments. Neither did any of the former presidents who have committed war crimes either. So I get what Lawsu's saying. I guess what makes this Watergate, yeah. Nixon, no indictments there, either. But this is what's unusual, that there are indictments, there was investigations. So I guess we'll see. I guess you can be like a criminal, you just can't be so bad at it that now they're forced to do something. Maybe that's the name of the game. All right. An hour ago, why are they putting out another fake indictment the day after the crooked Joe Biden scandal, one of the biggest in American history, broke out in the halls of Congress? Yeah. Yeah, we saw the biggest scandal being broken out in the halls of Congress. Marjorie Taylor Greene did everyone the favor there. I hear that deranged Jack Smith, in order to interfere with the presidential election, will be putting out another fake indictment of your favorite president, me. That's not prosecutorial misconduct. It's also not election interfering, but whatever. To be honest, every president from its conception is a criminal who has committed mass crimes against humanity. True. Right, Trump is everybody's favorite president after Lincoln, right? Even more popular than Lincoln. Oh, man. Okay, 5 minutes. When was that? Has it been 5 minutes? Do I just go on the DOJ site? Is that what you're saying? DOJ, press conference? Okay, yeah, it's there. All right, so we'll just continue. I mean, all Americans love JFK, but the 1% who had him killed. Yep. CBS is covering it live. Okay. Was it Jack Smith? Conference?
Here,
All right. Yes, now for the Georgia now for the Georgia case. We'll see what happens with that one. In the meantime, we'll do this until we get that
the
video
group
going.
remains steadfast, with many members already struggling as the company nets record profits.
I am stunned at just how well media is reporting on this strike. So I'm going to get there and give you my thoughts as well as some clips as examples. But first, let's talk about the strike that is happening within the Greater Toronto Area. This is during a time of record profits for Canadian grocery stores. Roughly 3,700 Metro grocery store workers are now on strike. That's across 27 stores within the Greater Toronto Area, and they're asking for higher wages and full-time hours. Which, just quickly here on the full-time hours part, you may have had discussions in your life, and I know I have, of interacting with people that claim that people just don't want to work anymore. Not the case. People do want to work. They just don't want to be exploited anymore. Which goes to this point that they're not only asking for higher wages, but more hours. People want to work. People want to be able to survive and live. The issue is they're not getting the pay that they actually deserve. But let's get to some details here. So this is from the Globe and Mail. As they write, the strike by members represented by Unifor Local 414 comes amid concern among workers that their wages haven't increased much over the years, while big grocers have seen large profits. The Competition Bureau said in June, a June report that the country's largest grocers, Loblaw, Loblaw's, Sobeys, Metro, reported more than $100 billion in sales in 2022 and earned more than $3.6 billion in profits. Lena Payne, Unifor's national president, said in an interview on Sunday that any agreement reached with Metro's striking employees will set a very important pattern for the grocery sector, while where other union locals will be negotiating. Workers at Metro rejected a tentative deal, the union said on Friday. Quote, they know they're not just fighting for themselves, they're fighting for every grocery store worker.
Nice. Based. Trump went down to Georgia looking for a vote to steal because he was way behind. Yes. I think that's the melody.
Every retail worker out there. So I think this is a very important point here, and this will be potentially the impact coming out of this. As we've already seen, the impact of many strikes all across North America, the effect it's having on other workplaces. So I'm going to get some of those examples as it pertains to Canada in a bit here. But I want to show you this report. This is from Amar Khan, a journalist for Global News. And this is a fantastic piece. Just fantastic. I am very, like, this is the world I come from. I come from local news. I used to work at CTV. So this is, part of what I do here is media criticism. I think it's important to understand how the media frames issues, how that can persuade you to think a certain way, even if there isn't that clear intention behind it. This is an example of actually showcasing a fight from the perspective of the working class, which is often rarely done, or I should say not often, rarely done when it comes to these sorts of reports. So here is Amar Khan's piece for Global News.
We want a livable wage. Toronto is an extremely expensive city. So many of our members, unfortunately, have to use food banks. We have several that live in community housing.
As the sun beats down on unionized striking Metro workers, the group remains steadfast, with many members already struggling as the company nets record profits. Some Metro employees say they can't afford to shop at their own store and talk about trying to find deals at cheaper grocery outlets.
We have to do flyer hopping, see who has what on sale, and instead of going for one grocery shopping a week, we're going for 3 or 4 because we have to go to multiple locations.
You want to pick up some groceries at your own grocery store, but with the skyrocketed prices, you can't even afford to do that.
Vitek has been working at Metro for 5 years.
Damn. What a messed up state of affairs when people are just like, damn, dude, I just want, like, food.
But to make ends meet, she works a second job.
Yeah, there is no social life. I just go to work and I come home and I try to race to my other job.
That's wild. That's wild. Literally 2 jobs. I'm having a Trump indictment party. This is a Trump indictment party. Strikers, more like slackers. Imagine not working. Maybe she'd have less time to whine if she had a 3rd job.
Residents in Liberty Village who are being affected by the strike say they're backing workers' rights.
They got to do what they got to do, so I'm totally
They gotta do what they gotta do to, you know, eat.
okay with that, and I can just rearrange my day.
Before the strike, the bargaining committee voted to accept a deal from Metro, but members voted it down. When Metro officials were asked if the contract included a living wage, they said yes.
I believe it did.
The union, though, says that's not true. According to a recent report from the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives, the average one-bedroom Toronto wage to live is over $33 an hour. And according to the union, full-time workers at Metro average just over $22 an hour, while part-time employees, which make up the majority of Metro workers, make just a shade over the $15.75 minimum wage.
So, fantastic piece here from Amar Khan of Global News.
Nice. NBC has a camera in the live in the press room waiting for Jack Smith. Yeah, we have CBS like on standby. But nothing started just yet, I think.
Showcasing just how expensive it is to live in Toronto and how what these workers are asking for is just an ability to have a living wage. And because they have the ability, because they are unionized, they can strike. They're striking, as they should. And this whole piece is fantastic because it really gives you the perspective of the working class, which often historically has been missing in a lot of these sorts of reports. But here, I think this has been a long enough, a sustained push of unionization, of striking, of...
For the January 6th committee, Eastman reportedly says, well, this theory to Trump, and I have authored this memo, but I'm not really sure it's going to hold water. And Jacob explodes. In fact, he's a levels of the federal government. Yet Eastman persists.
Has it started yet? No. We continue.
A clear situation where these massive companies are making record profits while their employees are making very little. This has been going on long enough where it's impossible for these sorts of networks to ignore it. They have to acknowledge that. And you have reporters like this who oftentimes themselves are, I mean, they are working class as well. These people don't make, I remember when I was younger, watching like local news pieces or even like national news pieces, thinking that, oh, this person's on TV, they must be millionaires. No, I worked in local news. People aren't making a whole lot of money. I was making around $17 an hour editing national news. So it's not, these on-air individuals are also working class. Important to keep that in mind. So it's good to have that perspective brought into these pieces around a strike like this. Now, I want to show you another clip. And I'm going to get to more around media because I want to show you a clip from after this clip, a clip from a different news outlet and how they reported on a different strike and just how wild that is. But first here, this is from a CBC News report that was done by Clara Pazika. And here's part of her interview with some of the striking workers outside and what they're asking for.
This worker attended college for baking, but can't get full-time work.
I just want to work like full-time, like over 40 hours to be survive. But still, the wage is not fair enough.
Right. Like, wait a minute. If you're like saying like, damn, I mean, the wage that I'm getting right now, even if I worked 40 hours a week is not enough, I'm willing to work more hours. That's what she's saying. So like this notion that people just don't want to work is ridiculous. But anyways, the press conference is starting.
Charging Donald J. Trump with conspiring to defraud the United States. Charging Donald J. Trump with conspiring to defraud the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters, and conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding. The indictment was issued by a grand jury of citizens.
Whoa!
And it's crimes charged in detail. I encourage everyone to read it in full. The attack on our nation's capital on January 6th, 2021 was an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy. As described in the indictment, it was fueled by lies. Lies by the defendant targeted at obstructing a bedrock function of the U.S. government, the nation's process of collecting, counting, and certifying the results of the presidential election.
Jesus.
The men and women of law enforcement who defended the U.S. Capitol on January 6th are heroes. They are patriots and they are the very best of us. They did not just defend a building or the people sheltering in it.
Slow down there.
They put their lives on the line to defend who we are as a country and as a people. They defended the very institutions and principles that define the United States. Since the attack on our Capitol, the Department of Justice has remained committed to ensuring accountability for those criminally responsible for what happened that day. This case is brought consistent with that commitment, and our investigation of other individuals continues. In this case, my office will seek a speedy trial so that our evidence can be tested in court and judged by a jury of citizens. In the meantime, I must emphasize that the indictment is only an allegation and that the defendant must be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. I would like to thank the members of the Federal Bureau of Investigation who are working on this investigation with my office, as well as the many career prosecutors and law enforcement agents from around the country who have worked on previous January 6th investigations. These women and men are public servants of the very highest order, and it is a privilege to work alongside them. Thank you.
Why didn't you charge any of the other co-conspirators in this matter?
And there
Wait,
we
that's
have,
it?
Special Prosecutor
Whoa.
Jack Smith saying this is an attack on the bedrock function of democracy.
That's it? Well, we didn't learn much there. I really wish you would have done the a terrible choice, brother. As a Brit, I personally don't care about your institutions. Same amount of time before you see sense and grovel for British leadership again. I always wonder what politics stream on Twitch are about. I picked a random one. Yours. Hey, welcome. Welcome. Zaggy, welcome. Trump is going down. Maybe. No, he's not a politician. Short and to the point, yeah. I mean, like, it's fine if he was, like, to the point. I was just, like, hoping to learn more information. I was just hoping to learn more information, but I guess not. It makes it official? No. Him speaking is irrelevant. He didn't have to do any of that. The documents has already been filed or whatnot. The grand jury reached a decision. It is like it doesn't matter if he is spoke or not. People this rich are bulletproof? Normally, yes. Need to read the indictment. Is very detailed. I bet. I don't doubt it. I was just hoping to get a little bit more from Jack Smith. At worst, he gets a little timeout. Do you think so? Come straight back afterwards like nothing happened. Maybe. Maybe. It's different when you don't have anything to come back to. He won't suffer like Poors would. Yep. Even though being from Germany, I still try to keep up with U.S. politics at least on a weekly basis. Oh man, it's a shit show. A former president who is currently the front runner of the Republican Party is being indicted because he is being accused of messing with the election. Trump is paying at least $40 million through donations for legal bills, which, as Conscious Canuck just pointed out, just comes from all these cult members that continue to give him money. Welcome, Conscious Canuck. All right, so back to the worker story.
She makes less than $17 an hour compared to the average full-time worker making more than $22 an hour.
When the pandemic came, we were
Just got off work. Welcome. Well, I guess to catch you up to speed, Trump's been indicted again.
all heroes. Everybody, thanked us. It was wonderful. The company appreciated us. And it went right down to zeros very quickly when they took that $2 pandemic pay away from us.
There was a time in this industry where people came here, right, and worked here and were able to buy homes, put their kids through school, university. We can't do any of that stuff anymore.
Why is that? What current system do we live under? There are some questions. The simulacra welcome also some billionaire funneling millions into a super PAC that then gives it to Trump's PAC. Yep. Trump's PAC spent millions on legal bills this year as his campaign, as his charges mount yesterday. Yep. I assume you do know David Pakman. I regularly follow his podcast. Yes, I know who David Pakman is. Although I do not know him personally, if that makes sense. Not as many as 2016. Many donors are not supporting Trump as DeSantis. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I believe he said there is a billionaire who's doing that. One. Why is the streamer lying? Their best mates. Ah, yes, my best friend David Pacman. In Toronto, 22 an hour will get you a nice cardboard house under the freeway bridge. Oh dear. Are you serious? I don't make that. I don't make that. Well.
So the pandemic pay, I think, is an important piece of this as well, because these workers got an increase in their pay during the height of the pandemic. It is very clear now, and you could argue it was very clear back then, that this was all a PR move. Because once the height of the pandemic, lessened, they took that pay away. They cut the pay of their employees. And because COVID wasn't much of a news story anymore, there wasn't a whole lot of attention around that. I don't know how you as a company, what do you expect is going to happen when you cut the pay for all your employees after increasing it? What do you think is going to happen? It is so good to see these workers strike, and there are other stores that don't have unionized workforces that really need to consider organizing. And I think this strike is going to lead to that sort of, at least it's going to help to foster an environment where organizing and further strikes, in whether it's grocery stores, whether it's just retail, it's more likely to happen when you have this environment that's being created by a strike like this. Now, I want to get to the media piece here a little bit before I wrap back around, because I was amazed by both these news pieces, actually. But I was initially going to, oftentimes when I look at a story that I want to cover, I think about...
Picture New York with more urban sprawl. Jeez. 1,000 Canadian dollars is equal to 1.5 real dollars. What?
How I want to cover it, what I want people to get out of it. And a local union story like this, a local strike like this, is simply going to get less attention just generally. So I wanted to give everybody watching it something to get out of it. So I was going to, look at each of these pieces, each of these reports covering it, and do a little, media criticism, see how it was framed in this way versus how it was framed here. Yet every single piece I watched covering this strike, they all covered it fantastically. It was all just brilliant. Amar Khan, again, Global News, fantastic work. Claire Pazika, CBC News. Rhianne Campbell, City News. And Andrew Brennan, CP24. All fantastic reports. And I'm sure there are more out there. Those are the ones that I watched. But they all did a fantastic job, as well as, I should give a shout out here as well to Breakfast Television in Toronto. This is Sid, Melissa, Frank, and Eva. They had a discussion about this, and it was well informed. Sid is very in support of the striking workers, as the rest of them are as well. But really good to see that. Now, I want to get to a different kind of clip because, oh man, I watched another report from this is a different strike, though I'm sure this network that I'm going to get to is going to cover this one as well. We will see. But before I get there, it has to do with this particular strike. So as CTV News reports, here they write, it comes as unionized workers, this recent strike in Metro.
Nice. 22 an hour is just above the living wage in my city for a single person in a one-bedroom apartment in the sort of good part of town, as long as you don't have too many vices. I make 18. Jeez. Yep, those are the counts. I mean, if he gets like found guilty on any of those, it's pretty much a done deal, because if he has other charges that are also pretty heavy on time. I enjoy his podcast because he's deep diving into the most important U.S. politics. He's also offering general explanations in case you're not really into it, as as I am a German, obviously. Yeah, I could see that. I completely understand what you're saying and why you're saying it. On ABC News, someone spoke to Trump. Trump is expecting more charges but will defeat Biden in 2024. Living wage in Toronto is about 36 to 38 an hour? What? That's wild.
Comes as unionized workers at British Columbia's ports rejected a tentative agreement late Friday night, and as Manitoba Liquor Mart employees stayed off the job Saturday in their continued strike action. And I'm going to get to more strikes that are going on in Canada as well, or that went on in the past. But this one in particular, so the British Columbia ports, this was covered by BNN Bloomberg. So you already kind of know what you're going to get going into it. This is a business network, but the way that they just kick off, like, I'm not going to show you, I'm going to show you like 20 seconds or maybe 10 seconds here, because the way they kick off this report tells you everything you need to know about how they frame this strike.
And let's stick with the BC port strike and bring in the CEO of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, Perrin Beatty. Perrin, I understand that you are hoping that the federal government gets involved here and helps to get these workers back on the job.
And helps to get these workers back on the job? Bro, are you for real? Are you for real? John Eastman is identified as a co-conspirator. That makes sense. 5 more to go.
Those 15 seconds are all I have to show you. Look at how this whole discussion around this strike is framed. Let's bring on the CEO of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. I wonder where he sits on this issue. Talk to him, only talk to him, for 6 whole minutes. And let's frame it as, when do you want the federal government to step in and stop these workers from organizing?
And help these workers get back to work.
When do you want the federal government to strip away a worker's ability to strike? What? Like, it's so... This is the extreme version of what you normally see. This is, to be fair, this is not what you normally see in a local news report around a strike. It's not this clear cut. But this is an example of just how bad it can get. And if you go on to each piece here, like, this is fallout from the strike, so I'm sure they're all blaming the workers the entire time. When the government should step in is a big portion here. And impact on the Canadian economy, again, going to blame the workers striking for the impact as opposed to their bosses not giving them what they deserve. Again, going on to supply chain.
I mean, it's the same thing here. It's literally the same thing here. About a decade ago, I seriously considered immigrating to the U.S. Nowadays, I'm lucky I didn't. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Disruption. So everything that these employees are doing, their fault for disrupting the economy, as opposed to those at the top that are not giving them the compensation that they deserve. But that's how things typically go. So I was very surprised by how
it's in their name
at Metro has been covered. Pleasantly surprised. Now, a few more around other strikes that have happened recently. So last month, about 1,800 striking Halifax area education support workers returned to work after ratifying the latest contract.
Nice.
More than 155,000 unionized federal public servants went on strike earlier this year, and I covered that, including 35,000 Canada Revenue Agency employees. And last year, thousands of education support workers in Ontario also went on strike. So this has been, you know, of course, a lot of the strikes in the U.S. have gotten a lot of attention because of just the number of individuals involved there when you're talking about a country as big as America. But Canada has had also its fair share of strikes. Last thing, this is just an analysis of what is going on here. So Larry Savage, a labor studies professor at Brock University in St. Catharines, Ontario, told CTV National News that workers have a heightened sense of their own worth coming out of the pandemic. Quote, I think there's a lot of anger and resentment as a result of the pandemic and the high cost of living. Grocery store workers, for example, literally put their lives on the line for their employers and for society more generally during the pandemic, and a lot of them can't even afford to pay their rent or their utility bills. So I think there's a sense out there that workers are fed up and they're demanding more, and they're using their right to strike to do that. 100%. I mean, clearly that's the case. Since the pandemic, I think we've seen a lot more labor action, and people are just more aware now of what they are worth and how they do not want to be exploited.
True. All right. Actually, it's the workers should get back to work. It's in their name. Here's the link of text. Yeah, I think there's I think we went over it basically. Oh, you mean like the actual full indictment? Oh boy. Yeah, it's a pretty big one. 45 pages? Yeah, if you want to read like the actual full document, you can read that. There you go. Now Merrick Garland is speaking. I mean, unless we're going to get more information. Merrick Garland's statement, I guess. I don't see it. ADT has stream extends for 3 additional hours to read the Trump indictment. I'm not reading all this indictment. I'm sorry. Listen, we got the TLDR. We got the TLDR, and it doesn't look good. It does not look good for him. Kita likes me to hold her on my shoulder. A shoulder cat is born. Licorice. The shoulder cat. Liquor says hi to Bakita. Hello. Bakita is currently doing okay. She hasn't thrown up, so I don't know. I don't know. I guess I read the first indictment in full, but it's hard to keep count. Yeah, there's a lot. I think in one of them, there's like 30-something felony counts of like all fraud. Fraud of... was it fraud because of the misuse of funds? Misuse of like election funds because that was the Stormy Daniels case, right? 30-something. 37, 35 counts of like fraud. Jesus. Has Vaquita been poorly? She's had like a couple of vomiting episodes. So I was considering to just take her to the vet. And then like the appointment got canceled at the last minute. Because unfortunately, I mean, it just happened unexpectedly. Unfortunately, the vet's brother passed away, so he had to cancel the appointments. So we'll see about next week, and go from there. Because I mean, like, it's probably nothing. But you know, it's probably just better to know. Probably just better to be told that it's nothing to worry about. How many potential years in prison is he up to? A lot. A lot. Like, if just a couple of those felonies, or just a couple of those if he just gets convicted on a couple of those felonies, from any combination of any of these cases, like, he's gonna be in prison for the rest of his life, theoretically, right? That's pretty dark, right? Like, it went from 0 to 100. Like, Vaquita was ready to go to the vet, had already given her her medication, and like, I just got a call, like, right at the last moment, a couple of hours before, a couple of hours before they called me. So yeah, that went from 0 to 100 real quick. I feel bad. I feel bad for the vet. Make sure she drinks and keeps hydrated. I mean, she's been eating okay, at least this week. Like, the convention I'm hoping for is the one that bars him from holding office ever again. Unfortunately, I don't think they charged him with something. With the Echo Resto Dragon was the one that was pointing that out. Unfortunately, they did not. They did not charge him with the insurrection one. So I don't think that there is a charge right now on the table that could bar him from holding office. The only remedy at this point would be in a hypothetical situation. Let's just say hypothetically, if Trump were to win, the only remedy at that point would be impeachment and conviction in the Senate. I read the one about the documents he kept in the bathrooms in Mar-a-Lago. What was the first? The first thing that he got in trouble for was for misappropriation or inappropriate use of election funds, because he funneled like election money to pay off Stormy Daniels, something like that, something to that effect, which was like a bunch of fraud charges. She's a tough little baby, Vaquita. Yes, she is. Can she eat something outside that makes her vomit? No, she doesn't go outside. She's an inside cat. So we're actually not sure. It may just be that she just had an upset tummy for a week, and then now she's over it. I don't know. It might just be nothing, to be quite honest. That's the thing. I don't know. KY. What does that mean? Can you elaborate? What does KY mean? She's allergic to dem socks, true. KY jelly? Is that what you're talking about? I don't know, you're gonna have to elaborate a little bit more than just KY. If it's not, her food will become bad after she eats a couple of... Yes, that's true. You cannot leave wet food out for more than a few hours because it becomes rancid. Yes. But like, I don't know if it's the food. She's always been eating the same food. She's never had a problem with the food, so I'm genuinely not sure. Maybe it's just she was just having a tummy issue for a week. I don't know. But the thing is, like, she had a vomiting like every night for a couple of nights, like a while back. I think like almost a month and a half, 2 months ago. And then we thought it was the litter. So we changed the litter, and she stopped vomiting. So we figured that we solved the issue, and then she started like throwing up again. So I don't know. We just don't know. It could literally just be nothing. Fake news. I left the chicken Caesar wrap in my bag for 2 days, and it was fine. Oh man, that's not. No, that's not. No.
Activists claimed that the police were targeting the black community and purposefully killing unarmed black men. As the false claims of racial targeting spread, so did the anger and violence. Throughout the summer, Mateo and his family were shocked and worried as they watched on the news where neighborhoods around LA were being burned and looted.
Ah, yes. Accurate description of what happened.
You just got a small taste of right-wing propaganda produced by PragerU specifically for your kids. And now that propaganda has been approved for Florida schools, which means that if you live in Florida and your kid goes to public school, they could be taught one of the following lessons. A cartoon Booker T. Washington distorting the history of the Civil War. A narrator explaining that embracing climate denialism is akin to participating in the Warsaw Uprising. An instructional video telling...
Whoa! Embracing in climate denialism is akin to participating in the Warsaw Uprising? Holy shit. Remove their accreditation? Well, that would mean that they had an accreditation to begin with. They're not accredited, right? Prager Poo is not accredited. But yes, I do agree. The style, the art style is cringe.
Telling girls that conforming to gender stereotypes is a great way to embrace their femininity. A dramatization of the supposedly civilizing, benevolent era of British colonial rule in India. If that all sounds positively racist and Orwellian to you, well, congratulations, you are a normal person. But this is going to be something that is offered to schools in Florida now.
Well, I mean, it's conservative propaganda, Mono. That's what they think normal, like, this is all part of it. I personally don't consider the U.S. as a democracy anymore. If it ever was, if it were ever a one to begin with, and I will explain. No, I don't think you have to. I think there's strong evidence to suggest that is the case. The art style in that clip wasn't even the same as the art style for the poster thing in the background. Yeah, so it's different.
Which isn't too surprising if you've been following along. I mean, you could argue that it's par for the course considering that the state is now supposedly teaching about the quote-unquote benefits of slavery. Not to mention the fact that they also banned an African-American AP Studies course and all LGBTQ plus material for all grades. And this is all happening because the goal isn't to educate, it's to indoctrinate. So do you know how they...
All while screaming that there's leftist indoctrination, liberal indoctrination in the schools.
Keep constantly claiming that the left wants to indoctrinate your kids with...
Mike's got it. I should just let him speak.
CRT and woke ideologies. Actually, they're the ones who want to indoctrinate your kids with propaganda. And the propaganda that they're using is not even subtle. Case in point.
Despite our nation not always living up to our declaration that all men are created equal, I am still so proud and thankful to be an American.
Even though you were a slave?
Exactly, because I was and not anymore.
What? Oh boy. That's a lot to unpack there. Is that an AI generated voice? I don't know. My mom likes this shit. I am sorry to hear that. Someone stole my username. Oh boy.
So that was Booker T. Washington explaining to cartoon characters Leo and Layla, who traveled back in time to 1910 to have that conversation with him, by the way, that even though he was a slave, he's still very much proud to be an American. Because that's certainly something that you want to emphasize when you're teaching kids about slavery.
Right, like, yes, something that actually did happen. What are you talking about? How does this even make sense? Do you really think that if you hypothetically went back in time, you can talk to a slave, and they would be like, but I'm so proud to be an American because yes, I was a slave and now I'm not. What? This is messed up. Exactly, Heat. Exactly. This is messed up on so many like dimensions. Like I don't even know where to begin with this one. Jesus.
Yes, we did all of these terrible things, but you should still love America because this former slave loves America, so you should too. It's just so clownish, right? And the goal very clearly is not to inform and educate, it's to indoctrinate. And what's also bizarre about that clip is that Booker T. Washington, according to PragerU, is also a fan of the economics of Milton Friedman. Now, keep in mind, they had that conversation in 1910. Milton Friedman wasn't born until 1912, but for some reason, that's the flavor of economics that Booker T. Washington, again, a former slave, thought that it was necessary to push on Leo and Layla. Let's listen.
So, if we can take care of ourselves by learning skills and working hard and improving who we are, then it won't be so bad if life gets unfair.
And it can all start with you making yourself some snacks.
It's kind of like being able to do more for yourself not only gives you freedom, but also gives you a shield against people trying to hold you back.
That is exactly right. I hope this is the lesson you kids came looking for.
That's right, Leo. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps and remember that accepting government handouts is never commendable unless you're a multinational corporation. You know,
oh, man. Prager isn't the only propaganda machine either. Nope. But it's wild that they're being this is the garbage that's being allowed, or that's going to start popping up in schools in Florida. Yes, the best thing which could ever happen to anyone is being deported against your will. Yeah, and not only did they portray this as like, oh, well, you know, I was a slave, but you know, then I wasn't, so like I'm still proud to be an American despite that. What? In 1910? Okay.
No, at this point, I would not be surprised if they got Harvey Milk to teach kids a lesson about why gender ideology is bad or something like that. Although they
Thank you for the follow, Blue Brother. Prager used a more radical online version of Liberty University. I mean, like, Liberty University is that where that Nazi girl was from? Or is I'm thinking like Liberty Hangout? I forget. It's hard to keep track with these like fucking like far right organizations that always use the word liberty or freedom. It's hard. Jared Falwell's institution? Liberty University? No, yeah, it's a different one. That was Liberty something. They had an ANCAP flag on their Twitter profile, but they weren't ANCAPs. No, they were just Nazis. They were literally just Nazis. But yeah, no, this is a different one. I'm thinking of something else. Yeah, the one the one that pooped herself allegedly. But yeah, no, we're talking about two different things, but they both have liberty in their name, so it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to tell because like all these fucking fash organizations have like liberty or freedom in their name, so it's kind of hard to keep track. Not a fan of, not that I'm a fan of those either. Yeah.
They probably wouldn't feature an openly gay character, but you get the point, right? They are bringing back these people from history and they are bastardizing their memories, what they stood for, all so they can brainwash children. And in PragerU's video announcing that they're officially a vendor for Florida schools, well, they suggested that this is only the beginning of their educational conquest.
Friends, I'm ecstatic to make this groundbreaking announcement. PragerU is now making it into schools. A couple of years ago, we launched PragerU Kids because parents have been frustrated.
Teachers have been frustrated. We have seen that our schools have been hijacked by the left.
Hijacked by the left. Oh, man. And keep in mind that they've only been hijacked by the left very recently, apparently. Allegedly.
They have been politicized. They have been used by union bosses.
What? They've been used by union bosses. That's interesting. Question mark? Damn, if that doesn't give away the game, right? We're gonna make sure that the future doesn't even get the future working class doesn't even get the idea of unionization. Okay? We have to start them young. Just completely destroy that idea of organizing. This is class warfare, folks. That's what that looks like. They absolutely, these PragerU people absolutely know what they're doing. I've been to Buchenwald, a former Nazi concentration camp, mandatory in my class. If only like proper history would be mandatory here. I think PragerU should include the politicians' reactions to Booker T. Washington meeting for dinner at the White House. A true celebration of American acceptance. Control F, warning, N bombs? Okay. Well. Wait, Washington mobilized a nationwide coalition of middle-class black people, church leaders, and white philanthropists and politicians with the long-term goal of building the community's economic strength and pride by a focus on self-help and schooling. PragerU would have been absolutely been the people acting like they did at the time. With his own contribution to the black community, Washington was a supporter of racial uplift, but secretly, he also supported challenges to segregation and restrictions on voter registration. Okay, got it. That's interesting. I don't think they really mentioned that, did they? There's no way to change the past, it's just simple physics. No, but there's definitely lessons. They're gonna claim that Washington supported XYZ. Why not mention how people against him acted? That's a good point. Wow. Dubois, yes. Greater than Washington, agreed. Washington didn't want the NAACP because he thought it was too much. Yep, which happened. Eventually, they did form, like, decades later, right? I'm aware of Florida's new curriculum, which is disgusting. Yep, and now they want to put PragerU into the mix. So they failed to mention this. Booker got his freedom from the Emancipation Proclamation after, like, U.S. troops occupied the region during the Civil War. I think that's a pretty big, important fact.
They have been doing everything under the sun, not for our children. And so we have launched PragerU Kids, and we started providing great edutainment, educational entertainment for children across America. But we didn't.
It's not educational or entertaining. It's just indoctrination.
Just stop there. Now we're actually making turnkey curriculum content for your schools. And the state of Florida just announced that we are now becoming an official vendor. This means that if you are a teacher in Florida, you cannot be fired for using PragerU content. You can also rely on our resources in your classrooms. And we're just getting started. Additional states are signing up. Go to our website, PragerU.com, and find out which other states have been working closely with us.
Oh, Lord. So, yeah, it's not like this is what I'm talking about when I when I talk about, like, blueprints that once it starts being successful in one state, it starts getting deployed everywhere else. Yeah, it's corporate propaganda. There's nothing of actual information being put in any of these videos. Entertainment? Question mark?
So that we become an approved vendor in additional states across America. You should know that the left is trying to fight us. They're trying to take us out of the schools, and we need your support.
The left? Maybe it's not because of any, like, you see, like, this is the problem. You know, maybe this person is so, like, PragerU and all these, like, far-right people are so lost in the sauce that that challenging them is seen as some kind of, like, leftist attack. What if you're just wrong and delusional, dude? What if the content that you are trying to indoctrinate children with is just wrong? Yes, but they learned that people observe your content quicker if it's presented in an appealing manner, regardless if you agree with it or not. True. Blackboard now. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I guess because they're now in schools. They put that logo like that. These people haven't stepped foot inside a proper university classroom in at least 2 decades. Discussions are pretty common. Yep. Right. It doesn't matter if it's wrong. It's what they want you to learn. Correct.
So please go to PragerU.com and sign our petition to keep PragerU in schools.
Actually, don't do that. But it's important to know that they're already anticipating pushback and they have a plan to mitigate the blowback. But PragerU is not alone, believe it or not, because even though they were approved in schools, well, Turning Point USA's effort to push back against supposed woke indoctrination in higher education has only expanded since they got started, and Charlie Kirk announced that 50 new college and high school field organizers are being trained at TPUSA's headquarters. And he announced that TPUSA actually has more high school chapters than college chapters, which is something he pointed out in response to this article from The Hill that talks about how 12th grade boys are trending conservative. Now, right-wing indoctrination in education is a serious issue, and I don't want to downplay that, and I don't want to downplay the role that Turning Point USA has had in brainwashing students across the country, but correlation does not necessarily equal causation, so it doesn't prove that Turning Point USA specifically is driving this change. But there is a change that's occurring, although it is being somewhat overstated. But typically what we see when we look at public opinion.
What is remedial course? Is this common practice where you all... yeah, we do have remedial courses. Like if you need a remedial course in university for, like, I don't know, math, they'll put you in through like a more basic course to get you up to speed to be able to do the next level. That would be an example. High school boys are trending in whatever direction their hormones take them. Never asked TPUSA what happened with TPUK. We laughed those fuckers out of the rooms. Yep, nice. Based.
In polls is that Gen Z is overwhelmingly left-leaning and liberal. And yeah, that's true, but mainly because there are so many girls who are younger that are liberal and left-leaning that they kind of skew the entire generation to the left. And when it comes specifically to the poll cited in that Hill article that Charlie Kirk shared, well, it contends that most 12th grade boys are apolitical, but the ones who are politically active are far more likely to be conservative than liberal. They explain in annual surveys over the last 3 years, roughly 1/4 of high school seniors self-identified as conservative or very conservative on the Monitoring the Future survey, a scholarly endeavor that dates to the 1970s. Only 13% of boys identified as liberal or very liberal in those years. In the 2022 Monitoring the Future survey, the largest group of senior boys, more than 2/5, claimed no politics at all, answering the liberal conservative question with none of the above or I don't know. Nearly 1/5 identified as moderate. Only 36% selected liberal or conservative as an ideology, and only there did the trend emerge. So to the extent that 12th grade boys are political, they are much more likely to be conservative, at least according to this poll, but still most of them are likely to be apolitical. And that to me makes sense because I don't think that I fully developed my political views until I was in college. But if you asked me back in high school if I was conservative or liberal, I probably would have self-identified as conservative as well because I was raised in a very socially conservative evangelical household, right? But the apolitical nature is exactly what these propagandists are looking at because that is a blank slate. And that's why the propaganda is so important, because if the slate is clean, then you can kind of fill that void with your own political views. So a lot of these high school boys, they also could have been apolitical as well, but perhaps something got them into politics and made them conservative. I mean, there's a number of things, right? Jordan Peterson's self-help book was popular with young men. Perhaps they started listening to him, and then they found the Daily Wire through him, and then that kind of indoctrinated them into right-wing politics. Or maybe they're unsuccessful with the ladies at school, so they seek out the help of pickup artists, and then they end up discovering Andrew Tate and the manosphere. Or perhaps they discover Steven Crowder or Ben Shapiro on YouTube through one of their pop culture rants or comedy sketches. I mean, these apolitical...
Yeah. Conservative Party, and they can so this and never bother doing anything for teens. Well, no, to be fair, like seniors are like 1 year away from being able to vote.
12th graders are simply conservative voters in waiting. They're just waiting to be activated according to these propagandists, which is why this effort is so widespread. But even though right-wing indoctrination and education is becoming a bigger problem, young men in particular are still going to fall down the right-wing rabbit hole regardless if it's being shoved down their throats or not. But still, Gen Z overall skews left and liberal, which in theory is a sign for hope. But don't become complacent because the right certainly isn't, right? Hence the relentless push for them to spread their propaganda in schools. Informing and educating younger generations must be an active effort by the left. And this is something that the right is cognizant of, and they're organized to make sure that their vision is shoved down the throats of children. So the left should be organized as well. But ultimately, when it comes to these types of propaganda videos, we won't necessarily know the impact that they have until a long time from now. But it's cause for concern, because even though polls might give us hope about Gen Z and how the future generation is much more progressive, things can change, right? Political views are dynamic. They're not static. And one year you can think something, and then you agree with the right on one issue, and then you start agreeing with them on more issues. Things can change. So that's why you can't take anything for granted, right? What looks like a future political win or, you know, an end of the Republican Party given current polls just means that they're going to adjust their strategy, and they're either going to change their rhetoric or ramp up the propaganda, and that's what we're seeing. And so the point of this video is for me to just tell you to be aware of it. Not that you weren't already aware of it, but also it's important to point out, because as they accuse everyone of pushing woke indoctrination in schools and corporate media, well, they're the ones who are actually doing it, which makes sense considering every accusation is a confession. So, yeah, we'll leave that there. That's the type of propaganda that you're seeing in, or that you will see in some schools in Florida possibly, and perhaps other schools as well.
True. Amethyst Pudding, you have the Majority Report's background set up. Yes, I do. That's exactly where I got it. Yes. It's exactly where I got the idea. All right. So, speaking of which, I guess we should just do this. Content warning. It's a cool setup, nice colors. Thank you. I think mine is better than Sam's. I'm just saying. I'm just putting that out there. So content warning. The running gag used to be that Sam actually stole the set from me. Not the other way around. I think the other running gag that we had was that I used to broadcast from David Pakman's base studio when he wasn't there. Sam stole your swagger. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. More like asshole alert. Yes. But like the whole point of like even you see those graphics? Yeah. Of Nick Fuentes. But yeah, the point being is that, like, the reason why we have to go over this is because this dude had lunch with the former president. Okay? This dude had lunch with the former president and the current frontrunner of the Republican Party. Okay? It cannot be stressed enough how, like, close neo-Nazis are around the high levers of power.
This guy's throwing garbage in my neighborhood. This guy's driving around like a disgusting animal. This guy's throwing garbage in my neighborhood. This guy's driving around like a disgusting animal, throwing wrappers out of his window. This is in my neighborhood. I'm supposed to be mad at Hitler? I'm supposed to be cross with Hitler? I want this guy dead. If I was in a room with Hitler and that guy, me and Hitler would team up and fuck that guy up. We would kill that guy. Hitler would hold him down, and I would beat him to death.
Yeah. Of course, he never would do this because Nazis are fucking cowards. Where's the Hawaiian Hawk? What? I just yesterday listened to this MAGA cut on David Pakman. I'm always struggling on whether to decide whether I should laugh or be sorry for them. Well, no, you shouldn't be sorry for them. They're fucking dangerous. They're dangerous. Because like at one point, like these people are making these decisions consciously, okay? It's been years now, okay? It's been years now. These people are making these decisions consciously, So I mean, there's I can't feel sorry for them. What I can do is point out how dangerous they are. That's just the way I see it. Yeah, I mean, it's clear. Like, the dude's an open neo-Nazi. And this is the same dude who had dinner with the former president. The same dude who's been palling around with different Republican politicians. The same dude who founded America First, was a big part of America First. So whenever you see that, whenever you see Republican politicians talk about America First, that's what that is. That's what they're talking about. This is the same dude who was busing people into January 6th. At January 6th. The same dude who was palling around Kanye when he did his whole I love Hitler rant. The same dude who introduced a sitting member of Congress, Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is very real, folks. Very, very real. These people read books and imitate nothing like those old things. What are you talking about? You mean that they're nothing like the original Nazis? They're very much just as dangerous. And they are not calling them like neo-Nazis. They're just Nazis. They're just Nazis. So regardless, I would take them very seriously. They were laughable if they weren't honest in their opinion. They should be themselves. Sad they have to cling on to those ideals. Cling on to Nazism? That is being themselves. Nick Fuentes is for real. I don't understand what you're talking about. Nick Fuentes is pretty for real. Like, he's a Nazi. That's right. That's the thing, Blue Brother. They are for real. They are being honest. It's not a joke. I have no idea what you're talking about. Fuentes is an unironic incel. He'll never change. Yeah, I mean, like, save, like, never mind that part. I mean, he's a Nazi. He's always going to be a Nazi. I don't think he's going to change. The thing that's crazy to me is that he's not hideous and he's reasonably charismatic on camera. You have to be a complete effing dweeb in person to stay an incel like that. I mean, like, being a Nazi does that. That is a self-afflicted that is self-inflicting. He probably has the Paul Joseph Watson issue of not being able to drone on being weird about alt-right shit for 5 minutes. Another Nazi. I mean, like, they're Nazis. Oh, shoot. Yeah, Pee Wee Herman just died. Yesterday? Earlier today? I can't really tell. I didn't know that. Right? PJW literally paid hookers and then started going on about Romania during communism to them. I mean, like, not Nazis. Nazis. I can't really go beyond that, okay? This is to be of no surprise. All right. We'll start off. We'll do a good news article, right? Recreational cannabis is now legal in Minnesota. Congratulations. Cannabis is now legal for adults 21 and older to use and possess in Minnesota, making it the 23rd state in the country to legalize cannabis for recreational use. Almost half. The first dispensary selling marijuana for recreational use is now open and selling to people in the Red Lake Nation in north central Minnesota. Congratulations. Being from Germany, I could tell stories about Nazis trying to overtake our government. Yeah, I mean, like, it's important to understand how these people operate, to stop them, and to be aware of how that can happen. Minnesota lawmakers approved the bill in 2014 that legalized the limited use of some form of medical marijuana, and products became available in 2015. That product started with oils, pills, and other non-smokable forms. Leaf form was authorized for that program in 2021. In 2022, Minnesota legalized the sale of consumption of edibles containing small amounts of hemp-derived THC. On May 30th, Governor Tim Walz signed an expansive cannabis legislation bill into law, allowing the recreational use of cannabis for adults 21 and older starting August 1st, today. The legislature passed that bill earlier that month with a handful of Republicans joining a nearly united Democratic vote. Yes, good for them. That's right, Sharpie Diesel. Nazis are like cancer. When and where will recreational dispensaries open? Dispensaries can't open until the state figures out a licensing system, so they won't open for at least another year. Some estimate in early 2025. However, tribal 420 West Coast tribal governments. Oh man, did I really time that? It's 420 in the West Coast, right? Did I accidentally time this article at 420? Yep, well, there you go. All right. Happy 420 in the West Coast anyways. Tribal governments don't have to wait for the state's licensing system to open dispensaries. Minnesota's 11 native tribal nations are sovereign, meaning they can operate independently from state laws and regulations. The first recreational dispensary opened on August 1st in the Red Lake Nation in north central Minnesota. The Red Lake Dispensary is called Native Care and have been providing medical marijuana to band members and non-members since April. Anyone 21 and older will be able to shop there. Well, the White Earth Nation also legalized adult use recreational cannabis and will begin selling it sometime in the first half of August. Both tribal members and non-tribal adults 21 years and older will be able to purchase from the nation's dispensary. White Earth Chair Michael Fairbanks told NPR News in late July that White Earth may soon enter into agreements with other tribal nations across the state to supply them with cannabis products for retail. Fairbanks also confirmed that White Earth, along with other tribal nations in Minnesota, are negotiating a compact with the state that would allow tribes to operate dispensaries off reservation. Even though recreational dispensaries aren't widely available for Minnesotans to buy cannabis, people are allowed to possess, use, and grow it. Possession of 2 ounces or less in public is no longer a crime. People are also permitted to have 2 pounds at home. Nice. Only 4 can be mature enough. They'll also be able to grow up to 8 marijuana plants. Only 4 can be mature enough to be flowering at once. Exceeding the limit could bring a civil penalty of $500 per plant. Oh no. You talked about another topic. See you off to bed. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. Thank you. A 420 story at 420 pre-watch. Oh man, listen, this was a complete accident, but okay, I will run with it. The law allows for use by adults 21 and older, but there are limits. It can't be on public school grounds where smoking is otherwise prohibited, in places where smoke or vapor could be inhaled by a minor, or behind the wheel of a car or boat. And without a license to do so, selling it could be resulting in escalating criminal and financial sanctions based on the amount illegally sold. Some people are prepared their home grow setups in advance so that they can begin growing cannabis at home starting August 1st. Okay, so yeah, you can obtain seeds. I guess this is a tax rate for the businesses. Adults buying cannabis gummies, seltzers, and other retail products pay 10% tax. This is lower than a lot of other places where it's sold legally. 80% of proceeds are expected to cover state costs of regulation, while the remaining 20% will spill down to local governments. Products sold on tribal land are exempt, but could include taxes issued by the tribal government. The Red Lake Nation is not charging tax because all profits are already going directly to the tribe. Money from taxing cannabis sales will flow from the state's general fund to the new Office of Cannabis Management to get it up and running. This year, that will be $21.6 million, followed by $17.9 million next year. The office will set cannabis industry standards, prohibit packing that could be attractive to children, and set personal use limits. It'll eventually license marijuana dispensaries, but it's expected to take up longer for dispensaries to open, around a year to 18 months. The money will also fund public health awareness campaign, drug recognition evaluator training, startup funding for new cannabis retailers and producers, a state board tasked with expunging prior lower-level marijuana charges. Nice! Nice, as well as research on cannabis and roadside testing to detect potential impairment. There's a whole lot that needs to be done, not the least of which has also to hire 125 people that are going to staff this office that are going to be experts in inspection, licensing, and technical assistance. Yeah, nonsense about police. Obviously, you can't drive impaired. Well, recreational cannabis sales and rules vary by city. Yes, local municipalities are allowed to temporarily restrict recreational marijuana sales until January 1st of 2025. At least 10 Minnesota cities and towns have adopted or are considering adopting similar measures. Local governments will also be able to limit the number of retail shops tied to their population, whether local zoning and whatnot. Okay, so with jobs, if you have a job outside of that, which, that require group safety related jobs, so you work in retail, work in manufacturing, or at least a warehouse, and you are not in one of those safety related jobs, then you are able to use cannabis in your off time, which obviously, like what you do on your off time, like if you go grab a beer or something off your off time, it shouldn't be your employer's business. Here's another important part: low-level offenses, petty misdemeanors for having small amounts. You can expect those records to be automatically sealed. That process starts in August, but it might take some time to carry out because Minnesota authorities said they're working with National Crime Database in some instances. These convictions often show on background checks for employers, housing, or other matters. So that's good that they're expunging this or sealing this because it's absolutely bullshit that you can't get a job or you're potentially losing out on an opportunity or being denied basic necessities like, I don't know, housing because you smoked a plant. It's just nonsense. The BCA also estimates 230,000 felony marijuana records would be eligible for review. 83,909 of them are convictions. Okay. So TLDR, good on Minnesota. TLDR, good on Minnesota. Starting today. All right, folks. I'm gonna talk about this real quick. Biden and Trump in dead heat in a hypothetical rematch. This is what I'm talking about. So we're just gonna go through this really quickly. I just got a job at Spirit Halloween. They are 420 friendly, but I'm also in Illinois legal state. Nice. Joe Biden and Trump are tied in a hypothetical rematch for 43% support for their return in the White House in 2024. This should be ringing all kinds of alarm bells on the Democratic side, because this is not good. This is exactly the scenario to try to avoid. I know it's most likely the likely scenario, if that makes sense. But it is a scenario to avoid. It is the scenario to avoid, because really, you don't want a close election. Again, not like this. So to say that this election is a foregone conclusion, to say that Trump is out, do not underestimate that. I've been saying this for a while. Do not underestimate this. This person. Do not underestimate Trump, and do not underestimate the Democrats' ability to fuck this up. So it's a two factor scenario here. I've read similar articles. Still, polls and articles are not votes. No, but again. They're not votes because the election hasn't happened, but they are a bellwether to kind of gauge on where the possibilities are. So I absolutely think you should take this seriously. My Kai RFK Jr. will come through. So the fact that they're a dead center, a dead tie, is not good. This is not good. This is not a position you want to be in, at all. Trump is going to win. He could. He could. That's why I'm bringing this up, because it's a very real scenario, and people need to understand that. Do not underestimate this guy. When asked who they would vote for between Biden and Trump as a GOP, both saw 43% support among the surveyed registered voters. Trump saw slightly more support from his base than Biden, which is to be expected because the Republican base, especially Trump's base, is very loyal. With 88% of registered Republicans selecting Trump versus 83%. And, like, at the end of the day, like, for all the talk of, like, oh, you know, I don't like Trump or whatever, these Republicans will still vote for him. Of course, but I only have one vote for Biden and Dems. No other competition right now, and it's not 2024 yet. What do you mean? The Republicans are the competition. But Biden's competition is going to be Trump, most likely. And the fact that this is where we're at now, after the indictments, the fact that we're still at a dead heat, at a dead tie, after the indictments, with over 80% of Republicans still supporting Trump, I don't suspect that that's going to change much even after this indictment. The primaries are 6 months out. Yeah, the primaries are 6 months out, and the reality is it's probably going to be a Trump versus Biden rematch. I mean, like, it is what it is. That's probably the likely scenario. There's no indication that would change as of right now. Indictments and more to come. Yeah, and they still will support this guy. And they're still going to vote for him. They're still going to vote for him. versus 83% of Democrats choosing Biden. The independents favored Biden with 42 over 37%. That's the only glimmer of hope here, is if enough percentage of independents. And like here's a question. I think I've posed this again, maybe a couple weeks ago. Here's a question: how many people are going to be as motivated? Since Michael Hassler just brought up 2020. 2020 was a one-trick pony. That was it. That election, that strategy, was only going to work once. It was in a unique position to work that one time. Now Biden's been president. How many of those people are you going to motivate or activate to get out to the polls like that turnout rate did in 2020? And how many of those are going to be Democratic? How many people are going to be motivated to vote for Biden again? That's the question. How much energy do you think that the Democrats are gonna are moving, are going to be motivating the same energy or bringing the same energy in 2020? It doesn't feel like it. Many Republicans did not vote for Trump. That's why Trump says they're coming for you. Trump's messaging is inconsistent on voting. No, a lot of people voted. A lot of Republicans voted for Trump. A lot of Republicans voted for Trump. The overwhelming majority of Republicans voted for Trump. Right now, as it stands, it's 88%. Unless the 6 trials of Trump, if Trump wins 2024, are erased, it doesn't matter. The trials are irrelevant. They're still going to vote for him. This poll was done after the 2 indictments. Obviously not this one. This one just happened today. But if the 2 indictments didn't do anything, if the 2 indictments did not do anything to wane the base's support, I don't think this 3rd one is going to make a difference, to be honest. Cornel West is going to hurt Joe Biden. You think so? You think there's enough there? All of Trump's candidates lost. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Trump has the Republican base. He's a very real threat. He's a very real threat. And the fact that they're even this close, the fact that there's even this much of a tie, this dead even race right now is bad. This is bad news. This is not good. Does that make sense? It should not be this close. The Democratic Party has coalesced behind Biden, and Trump is dominating in the GOP primary polls, according to the primary numbers from the same poll released on Monday. The survey also found voters are not excited about their options, with 55% of respondents saying they view Trump as either somewhat or very unfavorably, and 54% of Biden. So, like, they're both as disliked. The poll continues conducted between July 23 and July 27, sampled 1,329 registered voters. Biden and DNC reported raising $72 million in the second quarter. Trump's joint fundraising committee earned $53.8 million in the first half of the year. This campaign spent $57 in the same time period. Biden's making the economy a central tenet of his platform, going all out on Bidenomics, messaging amid an economic boost. 54% of respondents said they somewhat or strongly disapprove of Biden's job performance, compared to 39% approving. Trump's running on the America First agenda, which we just discussed what America First means. We just discussed what America First means. Hey, Hambliss, how's it going? So every time you see that, just remember, who founded America First. Just remember who had dinner with this guy. Just remember whose party this dude's been trying to influence. America First is just, it was founded by a neo-Nazi. Okay? Trump is not as strong as internet suggests. Keep notes, but I'm not saying it sold yet. Trump is not the 2016 candidate anymore. No, this isn't just the internet. They're polling. They're polling companies that are conducting extensive polls. So I don't like. I'm just trying to make sure that people understand that this is not good news. This is not good news. If you're dead even with Trump, that's not a good thing. It doesn't matter what Biden runs on if everyone is still watching Fox News. Yep. Running on the economy is dangerous when rent burden is at an all-time high and people are buying groceries on credit cards. Good point. Trump is running on America First agenda, is currently embroiled in a series of criminal investigations, including an investigation into his bid to interfere, which of course he was indicted. Unless the DNC changes to Kamala, that would be even disastrous. Like, then it's done. I don't think that would be worse. I think she would poll worse than Biden, right? And 6 months out to the primaries, it's not going to change. There's no room here. Kamala can't win. Yeah, there's just no way. There's like a total of 12 people who like Kamala. We don't make the choices or donations. Yeah, I think that's kind of you're kind of describing a deeper problem, but nonetheless, the point being is that it's most likely going to be Trump versus Biden. It's probably going to be Trump versus Biden, and the fact that they're already in a dead even matchup right now is not a good thing. The coming AI economic boom will change everything economically, socially, and politically. Maybe. The point being is that this is a alarm bell. This is an alarm bell, and I think people really need to pay attention because it is quite possible. It is quite possible that a Trump candidacy or Trump campaign wins. It is a possibility. That's my point. All right, so we're gonna speed run through this. Oklahoma parents and faith leaders and education groups sue to stop the U.S. first public religious school, which is amazing, which is actually pretty good. As we covered this story not too long ago, that there was going to be funds, taxpayer funds, for the country's first public religious school. Thankfully, there are some people with sense, and now they're trying to stop this from happening. So that's good. We will definitely keep an eye out on how this turns out. But this is good. This is a good thing. This is a very good thing. The DNC wants Biden and Harris right now, except for Twitch. Well, I mean, I don't know what except for Twitch means, but the point being is that isn't that in and of itself a problem? Isn't that indicative of a deeper problem here? But that's besides the point. It is most likely, like, we're going to deal with reality, right? The reality is, it is most likely that Biden is going to be the nominee. And right now, as it stands, he's in a complete tie with Donald Trump. That's not a good thing. That should be ringing alarm bells. That is not a good thing. That's my point. All right, folks. I mean, unless the DNC chooses Newsom, no, there's no choice. There's no time at this point. There's 6 months out. Katie Porter isn't going to run, and Newsom doesn't seem like he's going to run either. There's no indication that either of them are going to run. Katie Porter's trying to run for Senate. Last I remember. So no, this is not a thing that's happening right now. I'm saying that Biden is most likely going to be the nominee, and he's completely dead center with Trump, and that's bad. That should be ringing alarm bells. The withering heat is more common, but getting AC is a struggle in public housing. That's why the question marks? Well, no, there's no question marks. It's a problem. Like, we're trying to sound the alarm bells. The polling and the political winds are shifting in a direction that are disturbing. Thank you for the 10 biddies. I appreciate that. When a deadly heat hit the Pacific Northwest 2 years ago, hundreds of people died, including several residents of public housing in Portland. That's where Beth Van Smith lives. She has a heart disease, a condition that puts her at higher risk for heat illness, and she remembers how awful she's felt with no air conditioning and temperatures up to 116 degrees. I would get dizzy, nauseous, I would lose my appetite, and it's just miserably hot. Yeah, no kidding, 116 degrees. No AC. Van Smith borrowed an itty-bitty portable air conditioning from her sister, which is a huge relief that has at least allowed her to sleep. I was sitting like this most of the time next to it because it really only cools like right here. As the heat wave gets worse, air conditioning has come to feel like a must-have in even in parts of the U.S. that historically haven't needed it. Those who live in public housing are especially vulnerable to heat. They're not just low income, but disproportionately older, people of color, chronically ill, and often living in hotter neighborhoods that lack shade from tree cover. And yet, even as extreme heats become more common, it remains a struggle for many tenants to get AC. Much public housing is decades old, built before central AC was widely available, and it would be incredibly expensive to add it now. But you don't really have a choice. Like, people's lives are at risk at this point. Many tenants get an allowance for utilities that include heat, but federal rules actually specify that it does not cover air conditioning. Residents are allowed to get their own AC units, but Deborah Throp of the National Housing Law Project says most must pay for it, and the monthly bills themselves. That's when we start seeing families pay well over 30% of their income in rent, which makes these programs less affordable. No, I'm not talking about whether or not you can change the candidates. That's a whole separate issue. That's a whole separate issue. That's a deeper problem. The fact that we cannot make the decisions is a whole other problem in and of itself. You're describing a different problem. You're describing a completely different problem. I'm saying that we've made it, okay? We've made it past that. We understand that there is, a candidate that was selected is Joe Biden. That's it. Chances are that's probably what's going to happen. And that right now, the leading candidate, Joe Biden, The most likely candidate and probably going to be the nominee is in a dead tie with Trump, who is most likely the nominee of the Republican Party, right? And that's a problem. It shouldn't be that. It's an alarm bell. Representative Diego Bernal remembers the moment he learned about this problem a few years ago. He was chatting with a woman who lived in public housing, and she mentioned how brutal the heat was with no AC. He assumed hers was simply broken after sending someone to fix it. No, she explained, she was among 2,400 residents, public residents, who had no air conditioning and could not even afford one. It blew my mind, and I was embarrassed. Not only do I represent the area, but it's also across the street from my middle school. I mean, I knew all kinds of kids who came from there. At Bernal, a Democrat set out to fix this. The city of San Antonio put money and helped find other funding to get AC units for all public housing residents. In the process, the Department of Housing and Urban Development rejected the use of federal grants because the window air conditioning was deemed a temporary upgrade and not permanent. That's just messed up. I mean, like, I think Jesus. I don't think that it's too much to ask for AC in Texas. I don't think I think it's cruel. I think it's messed up that you have people living in public housing without AC in extreme heat, especially as the climate crisis continues. You are literally setting up people to die from heat illness. Meh, we can get more pores. The only way it won't be Joe is if Joe dies, the machine has picked them. Right, which is, like I said, which is a whole other problem in and of itself. Nonetheless, the point being is, it's a tie, it's really bad, it's not good. Alright, folks, we made it. This is all the time that I have today. I gotta get going and eat some dinner. Folks, if you enjoy the content and you want to support the channel, make sure you hit the follow button. It really does help us out. Also, spread the word far and wide. We're here Monday to Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Bring a friend. And if you want to help support the channel and cannot do so monetarily, go on over to the YouTube channel. Hit the big red subscribe button, as Michael Hassler just put the link there. It really does help us out. We're at 247. Thank you for spending your evening with us. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. Thank you for the follows, biddies, subscriptions, all that. The response to the possible deaths from heat, can you send that to me? I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Michael Hassler. Thank you, Heat, for moderating the chat and keeping it chill. I appreciate it. Yeah, just send it to me, Conscious Canuck. I have. Oh. Yeah. The response is, well, it just gets hot. Yeah. Yep. Everything is fine, folks. Nothing to see here. And as Ben Shapiro said, just buy AC. And if you can't, then oh well, too bad. Alright, folks, I gotta get out of here. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya. AC from Aquaman, true. Alright, folks, hang tight. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.